welcome back to another episode of the ADHDads. I'm your host, CJ.
I'm JJ.
And man, I got my first recording session from the new studio here, man. So I got empty boxes all in my background and my wife's nail stuff you can see here in my top left corner. And suppose this area of the wall here is supposed my ADHD stuff. So I have this little space right here, this little 2.5 foot space that I can put a logo up right there, and then I'd have to put the webcam all the way in the corner here like that. So
she's taking over there.
Yeah, and my side right here that I'm looking at is completely done with all nail supply stuff too. So my wife is moving on up in the social media influencer food chain, and I'm just put daddy in the corner here is is where I'm at. So I guess we got to get a couple more 10,000 subscribers like she has before I get a little bit more wall space.
Well, hey, I hear that recording booths are a lot like closets. So if you end up in the closet, buddy, you're in a great place for sound quality. So, and speaking of sound quality, man, did we have a couple of episodes of tin can recordings with our audio issues? But I think we got them figured out today.
Yeah, and that's all my fault. So I apologize to you listeners there. Life has been chaotic for me lately, and I guess just, my scattered brain, I just didn't do a good tech check. So I think I was recording through my my ear pods here for the last couple of episodes. I think we're back in the right input channels here, and I did a little sound check before we press record. So hopefully all will be taken care of. If not, damn it me, and I'm sorry again. We'll figure it out. But thank you guys for being patient with us as we knuckleheads figure this out.
I mean, I think we're at a good time where we could just blame everything on AI when things don't go well. So, we're probably in the early stages of actually the true catastrophe that's coming. So right now we're doing pretty well, buddy.
Before Skynet launches.
I'm pretty sure they're in a soft launch right now. So. Yeah.
It's going to be Amazon Net that launches and takes over the world.
Those drones flying your packages in are really, they're stealing your souls is what they're doing. So.
But yeah, man, wanted to talk to you about the second week of summer break here, at least for us. So, what do summer strategies look like, guys? I mean, what are you doing with your kids while they're home? Are you shipping them off to summer camp? Are you plugging them in front of a screen all summer? Or are you making them join some sports program or some sleepaway camp? What are you doing with your kids this summer? Because this could go one of two ways, right? It's like either dreadful to some parents, or we really lean in and we do some intention with it. So I've got a mixed bag of both feelings, buddy. I don't know where you're at, but I've got a lot of fear and hope going into this second week of summer.
Well, that's good. I've got a lot of fear. But when you mentioned the screens thing, if any kids are listening, they're like, well, did he say screens? Yeah, that option. I want that option. That's what my kiddo's saying. Oh, man. Well, one of the things, too, is I learned so much and also fail so much with my kiddo. And the end of the school year is a great example of how I just didn't get prepared for it. And honestly, in some ways, I don't know if I could be prepared for it. We're talking about ADHD and spectrum. And what does that typically involve for our kids and their comfort? It usually means if we're going to create some sort of structure, we need to keep that structure in place. And therefore, their anxiety and their stress won't result in some acting out because they have structure. But what happens at the end of school year? Oh, let's do a field day. Let's do a random recess time. Let's do a bunch of fun activities. The kids are going to love it. Well, then for our kiddos who are neurodiverse on the spectrum and ADHD, they're just they're thrown through a loop, and this is chaos, and they're going to act out in what their world is of chaos too. So they're going to create chaos in the world of chaos that they're sitting in. And that's exactly what we heard from kiddos' teachers. They said, yeah, his regulation stuff has been of concern. He actually spent most of the day in this other classroom to help himself. And it kind of hurts you a little bit because, as a parent, in some way, you almost expect it, but you still want your kiddo to be involved and have a great time. And my kiddo just simply was unable to do that because his school day was completely disrupted. And that was very
Mhm.
hard for him. And unfortunately, when it came to transitioning into summertime, he jumped right into that as well at home. So now we're looking at what's one thing that is a calming mechanism, something that he can keep focus with. It's that dang screen. Whether
Yeah.
that's a Nintendo game, which there's some benefit to video games, but you can't expect a kid to like do problem solving and really enhance his critical thinking by simply being in front of a TV playing pushing buttons and stuff for 8 hours out of the day while you're working. That's been my world this last week, and it's been hard. And he he sits over there and he's like, "Dad, check this out. Dad, check this out." I'm like, "Hey, buddy, it's 8:05 in the morning. I still got 7 hours to go at work. I'm sorry." And then he's like, "I want to go outside," and we take the dogs outside to the dog park, and he starts playing fetch with them. And then he's upset because the dog's trying to keep the toy away from him. It's just nonstop chaos, buddy. And honestly, again, I put it on myself. Like, I could have created a structured environment for him from school to home, but what do we do as parents? We still got to give ourselves some grace for that, because we know that school structure does not equal home structure. Even if you try and create a schedule that might look somewhat similar, they're in a different environment, and they're gonna feel that. And
Yeah.
my kiddo, at least, and I'm sure you can relate to this, he's not of the age where I can say, "All right, get on your bike and I'll see you at dinner time." So yeah, there's a lot of responsibility on my end to have some sort of safety and security for him. And I haven't done the best of jobs with that, our job with that, but I could say, knowing our visit with you guys prior to your move, you had a structured, schedule on the wall. Expectations were, written up there, as well as, reward systems and stuff. So you had something in place for a daily environment for these kiddos, that I wondered if transition wasn't so challenging for them for summer. But then you all had a grenade thrown in the room, and now here you are in a brand new room and a new place. And so I imagine summer is just part of the equation, huh?
Yeah, it's we are definitely in a very avant-garde experimental phase of our summer planning right now, because it is just chaos. We started packing stuff up a couple weeks before the last week of school. So we were living out of boxes. Things were going away. Things were missing. Which put a big wrench in a neurodivergent kid's schedule, right? Where's my thing? Where's my blanket? Where's my this? Where's my that? And we can't find it. And, it's at the old house, it's at the new house, it's in the garage, it's in storage, it's in the truck, like we don't know where it is. So we have just defaulted into, here's the screen, and go sit on the floor in the corner until we can get all this stuff sorted through. So it's been chaos, my friend. I am right there with you. We had a little bit of a summer structure planned with summer camp for 3 days out of the week. But then we moved, and that summer camp is now an hour away. So we could still take the kids to summer camp that is already paid for and that we have spots for. But it would, be a good 2 hours of driving time, or 3 to 4 really, to go get them, come back, drop them off, come back again. So we were experimenting with having them home for the last couple of weeks as we're going through boxes, and it's been a little chaos, for sure. Our kids have come into the room every night, and they've said they've had bad dreams. They don't like the new room. They don't like the sounds, or the this or the that, or the dark, or the whatever. So we haven't gotten a lot of one-on-one time, the wife and I. We haven't gotten a lot of bonding time throughout this process. We're still just scraping by, man, trying to just get our lives organized at this moment. So yeah, to be continued on the structure of it all. So I hope you guys weren't listening today with like a hopes of like we were going to give you tools and tips and tricks on how to plan your summer, because we're just as lost as you guys.
You know what, buddy? I kind of want to push back just a little bit on that, because I think through the process, you also learn what you can do in those moments. One of the things that I thought about when you were talking about summer camp now being an hour away is that we get these pieces of advice, or we look up the ways to create structure, and then there's always that question that creeps up in my mind, is like, well, yeah, but I'm still dealing with a kid, and that kid's gonna whine and complain, and the schedule or the expectation I have that this is what's going to make the day successful is going to be thrown out the window at some point. It's not going to just be magical and work every time. So then, it's that question that comes up in every parent's head. It's like, well, yeah, that's great and all, but what do I do when this? There's always something else that could take place. And how many ABCD plans do you create? Is that really an expectation we put on ourselves? Like, okay, I've got plan A. Oh, now plan B. Now plan C. Now plan D. I mean, where do you draw the line and say, all right, this is the catch-all for when nothing else is working?
Yeah. Well, and I think us being in this transition phase here is really a good time to restructure. And it kind of came at a opportune moment for our family as our oldest was going through her evaluation process. We got back not only an ADHD diagnosis, but an ASD level 1. So that's autism spectrum disorder. Level 1 is, kind of Asperger's. They minimal help, but they will need some help navigating some social dynamics, or could be accompanied with some learning disabilities, which we've also been diagnosed with, and things to look out for as we move older into development. Some learning disabilities like numerical and shapes and that kind of stuff. So she's going to struggle in math, which, oh man, I struggled in math. And they're changing math, JJ. It's different now from when we were kids, man. I don't know how I'm going to help her with it.
Yeah, and most kids would prefer to struggle in math than to try and figure out math, honestly.
So, we were hit with an 88-page report. And spent 2.5 hours with that evaluator over the phone, going over every little bit of detail and asking questions. So that was a very humbling experience, to think of this diagnosis in a new way, other than when we first started this journey 6 months ago, and we were so sure that it was going to be an ADHD thing, So we might have to change the name of this podcast to the neuro ADHDads.
Well, we could be the ADHSD. I don't know.
But anyways, so it's we've been really kind of thinking about how we're going to restructure her structuring and her organization, because that really seems to be a part that really needs work with her and us and our households, and figuring out what that looks like. And we've actually had some really great talks with Naomi about that diagnosis, and she's been very curious as we've gone along this process. What's my diagnosis yet? And we're like, what do you mean? What does that word mean to you? Where did you hear that word? And she knows, well, Coley went through his process. He got evaluated and he got a diagnosis. So she knows that she's been waiting for this quote unquote diagnosis at the end of this, whatever that means. And she wants to put a term to it. And she seemed to have a little bit of fear going into ADHD, oh, stepdad's got this. And well, I don't know if I want it. What does that mean for me? But now that we've been using the word autism or ASD, she seems to be almost excited about it. And I say that in a way that, because when we were talking about what ASD means, or autism means, and how it shows up in her life, or how her brain maybe just works in a different way, she seemed to resonate with that a lot. She was, oh, that's me. Hey, I do that. Oh, hey, sometimes I can have trouble talking to friends or understanding what their feelings are. Or, hey, sometimes I do that. And that was really cool contrast to see in her, from the, I don't want ADHD, Coley has it. What does that mean? I don't know what it means and I don't like it, to, hey, I might have this. Hey, that sounds like me. wow, that's me. You're describing me, a girl like me. And that was really cool to watch, man. And it was very humbling to us as parents, to my wife and myself, to go along this process and to see these things that we kind of wrote off as, oh well, that's ADHD, or whatever, and to see, well, oh shoot, okay, it's actually this ASD. And one of the ways that the evaluator explained it to us is that this is all on the same spectrum. ADHD, Asperger's, ASD level 1, 2, and 3. And level 3 is more like nonverbal, need a lot of assistance living. And, to kind of put it into perspective of this is all on the same scale or radar screen here, I don't know why my brain didn't resonate with that before or see that. I mean, a lot of the behavioral traits that we talk about and the executive function stuff that we discuss on this podcast seems very in line with ADHD to ASD, right? Like they just seem like maybe the variation of severity, or how they express themselves is really what the difference is, and we talk about that every day we press record on this thing, but it was just kind of eye-opening and humbling to hear this evaluator say that it's all basically the same thing. It's just on the same spectrum. It's just, again, the severity of the displays in our kids' personalities. So that was like, whoa, oh man, we've been looking at this, not in the wrong way, but just not maybe with a wide enough range of focus here. So we've been kind of just restructuring, and what does that look like in helping her structure and get herself organized and be able to manage tasks without us having to be Naomi, you got to Naomi, because that's the ultimate goal, right? Is how can she be independent, function, and so it's been humbling to try to figure that out as we transition this old house into this new house where we're looking for our old tactics and our old, our old chalkboard schedules in our pom-pom jars, in our little things that we had in place that we can't find now, and that we're honestly probably going to have to restructure and reconsider and re-implement and rethink as we go into a new house with a new place for things and a new routine and a new way of doing things. So I think it's kind of an opportune moment for our family. A long-winded answer to your question here, buddy, is I'm kind of looking at it as a good opportune moment, even though we've been having quite a bit of hiccups in the last few weeks here as we try to figure out what it looks like and what direction to go. I think our presence and our openness to it and our willingness to fail, step in shit, and have to trudge through the mud during these weeks as we figure it out is giving us the answers slowly but surely if we're open to it.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around asking a question that I think maybe somebody else who's, going through something similar would want to ask. And you mentioned this 88-page report, and Naomi's kind of, acknowledging herself from within while also reading about what something like this diagnosis would mean for her. And then, in addition to that, you said, we have to rethink, but you also said, it's all on a spectrum. And that was kind of something that really made a lot of sense. So you were in some ways already building a skill set toward helping her, as she continues to develop and grow. What does that look like? Did you have like a circle of here's everything within the circle we can do to help provide safety and security for her? Did that circle just get a little bit larger because now we're talking ASD as well? Or what rethinking took place? Did you have to evaluate what you were doing in a new way, or was it really just let's modify slightly, or how did that go? Or how is that going?
Well, some of the things we were kind of doing, like we do a reward system with where we had jars, and we would fill the jars up with pom poms. So certain chores or tasks or deeds get you so many pom poms. Once the jar's filled, you get to pick your prize for the day. Sometimes we do dessert, sometimes we do video game time or whatever, whatever, whatever. And we let the kids pick what those rewards are. And one of them was really cute. One of them was get to tickle Coley for 5 minutes. So they wanted to fill their jar, and out of all the things that they could reward themselves with, it was 5 minutes of tickle time with me, where they tickle me because I'm super ticklish. They love that they can get me on the ground and I laugh and roll and can't control myself, So that was kind of cute. And that a lot of the stuff in this report of the recommended behavioral tactics or things to think about is like flashcards or these kind of reward systems, and one of the things that we're trying to rethink or redo with her right now is this flashcard system, because our pom pom or our jar system seems to work great for 2-3 weeks, and then maybe she gets bored of it, we as parents fall off or get lazy with it, and then it's hard to remember all of the things that need to happen to fill the jar, all the things that she gets and what she doesn't get if she doesn't, so what can we do to help her along the way throughout the day? All these things we still want to get done, right? Brush your teeth, make your bed, clean up your clothes, make yourself food, things like that. So if she's not doing it to fill the jar up, we're just getting frustrated with her as parents because we're picking up the extra slack. We're getting mad that she's not, So it's like, well, again, how can we do it without having to remind her? So one of the recommendations in this report was this flashcard system, putting flashcards up on her mirror. Don't forget to brush your teeth, or by the toilet, don't forget to wipe, which is a big thing in our household. I don't know if you deal with that, but we have 3 kids.
Yes.
None of them would wipe. They're almost 9 years old. For 9 years, they will not wipe their butts. I don't know how long it takes to get a kid to do this. They will not learn.
Yeah, mine doesn't flush the toilet. And then when I say, hey, did you wipe? Yeah. Well, evidence is pretty clear.
Yeah. Where's the toilet paper, kid? Where's the evidence?
It's not fast dissolving. Sorry, you've been caught. Yeah. Buddy, so, I want to ask you
those flashcards. We just are trying to implement that, JJ, and that's something that she has also gotten some autonomy over and really gotten excited about. She, made all of her flashcards, and she drew them up and drew rainbows on them, and that was a big thing for her to do, and ownership over herself and her creativity and what is going to inspire her every day. So again, that was pretty cool to watch her and to help implement that with her too. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about too. There was like a new tactic that we're considering trying, but I want to hear what you were about to say. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think that's really important, and I want everybody who's listening, who's trying to come up with strategies for the kiddos, to take what Colton said very seriously. Especially with summer, is that kind of bundles everything together, right? Or a lot of things. Kids want to know what to expect. They want to be involved. The writing things out is a great way to kind of do all that stuff. You have the flashcards. I mean, all these things are just like really just feeding that need. Kiddos with neurodiverse, disorders. They really craved having structure, and when you can create that structure with them, you're already instilling in them that predictability thing. That's giving them that feedback in their brain that they desperately need. So I really just appreciate and honor that, about you, that you did that, because that really is going to help her set up her day for success, and she's already given you positive feedback in response to that. So yeah, good on you. The question that I had is actually based in reward systems. What do you tell a parent who is like, screw reward systems? What do you think, my kiddo should get a candy bar, or at the end of the day because they did a good job? Why should they expect some sort of prize for behavior that's just should be part of their everyday? I don't buy into that. Some people might tell you, like, what would you say to that? Because I do believe the reward system is definitely an opportunity for kids, I'm sorry, I'm saying just like, I beg your forgiveness on this, but when we are training our dogs, we use a treat reward system for them until they get the hang of the behavior, and that's just what they do now because this is what they're programmed to do, and it's something that helps them with a structured expectation, predictable, set of behaviors and stuff. I'm not saying our kids are dogs. We are grateful for our complexity as human beings, but a reward system to me makes a heck of a lot of sense when I'm
Yeah.
trying to help my son get through the day and create his set of predictable patterns of behavior that result in peace and calm and regulation. So that's my thought. But honestly, buddy, because I think you all are nailing that stuff even through the chaos of moving, I just wanted to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of an interesting dichotomy, right? Because in that book that I've mentioned a few times, Screen Free Parenting, scream parenting isn't just yelling at your kids. That book also can kind of defines it as the negotiation phase of an argument with our kids too. Well, if you just do this, I'll just give you this, and I think that it can kind of lead into a slippery slope of like everything that you're asking your kid to do needs to be a reward based thing. I think that there could be some subconscious manipulation that is easy to fall into, with your kids, that they know that oh well shit, okay, well I can get this candy bar if they didn't offer me the candy bar yet, so I won't say yes until they offer me the candy bar, and then I'll do the thing, which I can see a lot of too. But my argument to that would be like, well, damn it, aren't you fucking human too? Don't you need some motivation to get through a task? Don't you need something on the other end, some hope to get you over the hump or the hurdle? And I'm not saying like a lollipop for every like chore. And that's why I really am a believer and advocate in like a jar based or something that fills up and then you get one big reward, right? Like I'm not like dealing out lollipops every day for brushing your teeth and diminishing the, are trying to get rid of cavities by giving you candy afterwards. Like I think that there's some pretty some lines that we got to stay away from, and some basic, what's the word I'm looking for? Why can't I think of it? Common sense things, that come up during this. So again, like we fill the jar and then you get one big thing afterwards. You get an extra half an hour of video game or screen time if you want, or then you get the dessert, then you get the sweet thing, because we don't want our kids to have sugar all the live long day, and dessert isn't an everyday thing in our household too. In fact, we have a rule that if you ask for dessert, you ain't getting it. Because our kids will go every 15 minutes. Can I have that cookie? Can I have that brownie? Can I have the popsicle? Can I have a lollipop? And so it's like, you know what? If you ask for it, you ain't getting it. We will decide when you're getting dinner. If you earn your jar, then you can ask for it, and you have the chance and the opportunity. And again, I think that also teaches our kids a lot of planning, negotiating, what they want out of this, and what they have to earn and work for. It's not just I get it all today, I'm going to get screen time and this and that, and they got to plan it out. What do I want more of today? What's more important to me? Let's prioritize. Let's learn about that.
Mm.
So I don't really have any advice on it, but I've got a little bit of 50-50 thoughts on it. I think that it's great, but I also think that it can lead into a slippery slope of some challenging dynamics that you'll have to dig yourself out of if you're not careful with that. So I think if it's structured in the right way and you're intentional about it, rather than just offering it for everything that you're asking, it can really be beneficial to teaching our kids autonomy, prioritization, and organization.
And I know the answer to the question that I'm going to ask you, but I think it's important to just kind of speak to it. Is I'm assuming that there's also praise involved with this reward system.
Yes, I mean obviously, and reminding of, didn't you enjoy that? Wow, didn't was that worth it? Or doesn't that feel better now that you earned it or did these things to get it rather than just having it? you know? I mean, you were talking about earlier how, if our kids had it their way, they would just pick screen, 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 right? I mean, geez, Naomi did that today. She said, "Can I play Zelda on the Wii or on the Nintendo Switch?" I said, "No." "Can I watch my iPad?" "No." 15 minutes later, "Can I watch the show on the TV?" "No." "Well, can I go play Minecraft in your room? Can I go play Sims in this TV?" I was like, "You just asked every gaming system we have. Can you?" No screens means no screens.
What I just love about all this is that one thing that's evident, and, it's incredibly clear to me is that, I mentioned too the screen thing earlier, and how kiddo kept asking me to check out what he was doing. Like, in all of this, there's that connection piece, that connection component. Yeah, we give them a reward, but we're delivering praise, and the praise is something that is incredibly sweet for them, and something that, if it's done well. And, I know kiddos, like my kiddo is very much focused on, him and what he wants at the moment. So connections are a little bit more in a tight circle. He doesn't have a really wide net yet for connections with different social, situations. But when it comes to home, he values very much this connection with mom and his connection with dad. So when we deliver that reward system of praise, and maybe something at the end of the day that is earned, as we see fit, he, through all that, is getting connection, and that's ultimately what gives this reward system so much power, I believe.
Yeah, every time that they get a handful of pom poms or a gem that goes into the bank, there's a great sense of pride that goes along with that, of completing that task, of earning that, of that praise that they get from us as parents and that they give to themselves and their self-confidence. So, why not create something multiple times throughout the day that they can feel, "Oh man, I'm good. Ooh, I did that. Ooh, dad's proud of me." I mean, what greater gift to our kids rather than going, "Oh, your shoes are here again. Oh, you didn't pick that up. Oh, you didn't clean this." Now we have these opportunities where it's like, "Wow, I saw you pick that up. Make sure you give yourself some gems or pom poms, or you're almost there, almost a couple more things. What are you going to do today to fill the rest up? What chores are you going to decide on doing?" Rather than, again, this needs to get done and this needs to get done. They have a whole pool of choices to make, of autonomy to create, of praise to give themselves.
Yeah, I love that. You just basically also told everybody here that the advantage also is getting them involved. So you're not making the ultimate decision. Sure, you might have had set up a maybe a agreed upon system, but the fact that you're also including them in the activity of giving themselves a reward, and then, ultimately that turns into, pride, and hopefully, as they progress in age, that pride is also in seeing the beauty of giving to the person that's receiving. Man, that's a powerful system. So yeah, I honor that very much.
Yeah, and one of the other things that we were kind of looking at for, going back to your previous question, you had asked of what are some of the things that we were rethinking and some of maybe the new strategies that we were looking at given this new diagnosis and moving away from ADHD to ASD. And one of the recommendations in this report was like an intervention behavioral therapy kind of approach.
Mm.
And so they would have someone, an ASD specialist, that comes into our home and uh, watches kind of our daily routine, which kind of sounds weird, right? Like a social worker coming into your house to like evaluate like how good of a parent you are, how attentive we are, like how intentional we are. But they come into the house and they kind of see like how things are set up, where things are, and how the kid operates in the space. And they will help you kind of implement systems like the flashcards, or like just ways of structuring or organizing or cleaning or putting things away or together as you're moving throughout your day, to kind of help based on where your kid's at in the spectrum. And another one of those behavioral therapy intervention was like in social dynamics. So it would maybe be like an aftercare program or a camp or something like that with other neurodivergent kids that get together and play in a social dynamic and can kind of be monitored from a neurotypical adult, and to see where maybe some problem areas lie with like social dynamics and empathy and control and that kind of stuff. And that's something that we've really thought about considering too. That's something that we don't see a lot of as parents, her interacting with a group of other peers in a play setting like that. It's usually that takes place at school at recess, and we as the parents don't get to witness what that looks like or that expression in her personality or behavior. We have brother and sister at home, but that's different with peers, with friends, with other kids. And one of the expressions of personality that we've noticed with our kiddo is empathy can be an issue, and understanding friends feelings or wants. Her desires or her needs in the moment seems to take precedent over the collective group. So sometimes that can be a challenge to get her to say, Naomi, there's 7 other people that want to do these 7 other things. How are you sharing your time? And so that's been something that we've noticed, and something that we definitely feel that we want to help her with, as she grows older, especially as we're moving into junior high age now, and we're moving into the double digits of kids, and social dynamics are becoming ever more prevalent and going to be a necessity. So we definitely don't want to bulldoze or pave the way for her or helicopter over her, but definitely want to walk alongside of her during that to be able to answer any questions. And we've noticed her asking a lot of those questions, JJ, about social dynamics. One the other day was, how do adults make friends? And that, I thought that was an interesting question, giving our diagnosis now. And and she goes, because I just go up and I just say, do you want to be my friend? How do adults make friends? So that's a good question. I think I'm still trying to figure that out, sweetie. you gotta be very passive. You gotta say that you want to be friends, but you can't be that direct with it. You gotta ask them out for a drink, not a meal. That's too much. That's too forward. Just maybe a drink here or there, some coffee for the first handful of times, and maybe go out to a social event before you invite them over to your house. And then if they say yes to that and they don't ignore you, if they don't ghost you, then maybe you guys are friends. You don't actually say, do you want to be friends? You just kind of know based on these boxes that you check. It's like, she said, I think I like my way better. I said, I do too, sweetie. Totally. I do too.
Yeah, I really appreciate the honesty within her to voice that, and of course, lots of thoughts are flooded into my, head of my experience with my kiddo. And social dynamics are hard. And some kids, some people on the spectrum have simply, isolated themselves, not because they've just given up, but because that's where their comfort is too. And, trying to find what's best for my kid when maybe that is what they're most comfortable with. How do we do that? Because of course, if they're going to grow into functioning adults, there's still got to be some sort of social dynamic involved. They've got to, somehow get through just work balance and, what that looks like when other people are stakeholders in the process of, getting through a 9-to-5 job. That's tough. So how do we help bring them up in that? I think it's walking with them and really listening and not trying to intervene too much. Cause I've had conversations with Cohen, man, where I've said, buddy, if you choose to always take control of the situation, other kids probably will be a little bit, turned off from that and want to avoid having exchanges with you, because really it's just a one-way street. And each kid wants to have a voice. And he said to me, well, maybe I don't want friends then. And at that point, I'm just kind of like, I need a partner, tag in a partner here, because this one just threw me to the mat, and I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah.
But I've got a younger brother who is on the severe end of the spectrum of autism, and any sort of disruption in his day is a big challenge for him. So if I'm going to go visit him, I'm essentially saying, all right, well, I'm going to go disrupt his day now, because my visit to him is never something that he's ready for or prepared for, because that just throws off his routine. And that's tough to think about. I don't think our kids, yours or mine, are in that situation where they don't want friends. I think they desperately do want friends, based on what you said from Naomi's, what she's even asked about friendships and how they, how do we make friends, to, my kiddo's gone up to kids. I haven't heard him do it in a while, where he said, do you want to be friends with me, with some kid? And then when, they say, yeah, which is just super cute, kids are like, yeah, I'm your friend. All right, let's go march off. And then, and then I see Cohen, go from that to, let's do this, let's do that. And one kid will say, well, I want to do this. And he says, no. And, starts controlling so much of it. I have a little bit of a challenge ahead of me to, kind of bite my tongue and let the situation play out for him. I don't think he's got the tools yet, unfortunately, to, work through that to the point where he is winning people over with, a transaction of friendship. So what do you do in those situations? Do you walk with them and then offer up advice, or do you let it play out? I haven't figured that out yet, honestly. I haven't found the magical elixir for it.
Yeah, that's a good question, because something that I've noticed my wife doing more since we've gotten this diagnosis is, when we meet new people, she'll 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 kind of precedent it with, my daughter has autism, my daughter is ASD, and I don't know how that makes me feel quite yet. Like, man, I understand why my wife does that, and I feel there's been a few times where we've gotten into some awkward social dynamics based on the upfront questions that our daughter can ask. Right? We just moved into this new house, and our next door's neighbor's name is Lindsay, and right away Naomi's, that's a girl's name. Boys can't be named Lindsay. She's just so forward and direct with it. And we meet the other neighbor. We're getting out of the car, and she goes, hi, I'm so and such, nice to meet you. And Naomi doesn't even extend her hand or say who she is. She just goes, can I go inside your house? It's didn't even give her name yet. She just immediately wants to go beeline into this woman's house, the stranger's house. So my wife, after that happened, she said, I'm so sorry, if my daughter said anything to offend you. She has autism, and sometimes she can be a little blunt. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, do we have to precedent it? Every time we meet somebody, is this something to be embarrassed about when she's so blunt like that, or so honest, or give somebody feedback? Is it something that we need to explain, or is it something that we just let roll? And how many times has that happened in my life? Where I thought, just a little punk kid said what to me? Little asshole, where's your parents, you little fucker? Like, maybe I could just had ASD.
Yeah.
Like,
buddy, I mean, I feel that really deep, because I mean, there's just so much history of my own experience that I struggle, with still today. Is I was severely bullied when I was young, and it really took a toll on me then, and I still have some trauma that I work through because of it. And you've got a kiddo there who's just ready to do something, to enjoy something, and she's like, this is what I see, this is what I want, this is what I want to do. And you want her to do that in a safe way, because she's finding her joy in that moment. I think one thing that's really easy to do, as a parent of a kiddo with neurodivergent disorder, is to apologize and then explain your apology. So, I'm sorry, he has ADHD. And that's something that I don't feel good about doing. And I think I've done that before, because that's saying, like, hey, I'm sorry because my kids have got problems. And I don't think that that's true. Instead, I should say, hey, I mean, I don't know what the best conversation looks like, but I'd say, hey, kiddos get ADHD, so there might be some times where he's going to try and steamroll through everybody else's ideas. He wants desperately to have a good connection with them, and this isn't his attempt to try and destroy somebody else's joy in the situation. This is just where he's at. But it's hard to have those conversations because when a person um, hasn't gone through this, they get that anxiety and that fear when something feels a little off to them because they just haven't experienced it, and that's tough to deal with. I had a moment that I wish could just be erased from my memory, where when we were living in Missouri, we had neighbors across the street, and their son was a little bit younger than my son, and they had a little pool in their backyard. They invited us over a few times, and a couple of the times, my kiddo had an emotional response. And when he has emotional responses, sometimes you definitely know he's having an emotional response. Big tears, loud screaming. He drools sometimes when he's crying. He just has a big cry, and the last time we hung out with them, I told him it was time to get going, and he had already tried to play with this that he wasn't allowed to play with. He was splashing too hard in the pool, and this kid who's younger than him was in the pool, and so I could see on her face, like the mother's face, that she was feeling uneasy, and I didn't like that feeling because I knew that she just didn't want to have to put up with that situation. And I'm not blaming people for saying they should put up with everything, but we parents, we're trying very hard. So I had said later, thank you for inviting us over. I'm sorry that we left and it was kind of an emotional moment for Cohen, but I appreciate you inviting us over. Thank you. And then I got a text response that said, thanks for saying that. We don't want Cohen to come over anymore. Because of his energy, it makes us feel anxious or nervous, one of those two things. And I didn't reply. I did immediately just want to, like, go on the socials and say, hey, listen up, people. My son desperately wants connection, and it's hard sometimes, but just to let you know, we are trying every day, trying very hard to have good connections with people. And it just sometimes takes a little bit more effort and patience, but we're trying. And I don't want the world to isolate these kids, isolate these people, by pushing them away, saying, hey, you're not welcome here, simply because they don't understand and they're afraid. I love it when we see his teachers show patience and kindness, because he gets through his day so much better when somebody actually takes the time to say, you know what, maybe I should be curious about this rather than push it
Yeah.
away. It's not easy. And I'm not saying everybody, hey, just go out and make friends with somebody who, acts different than you. I'm not saying that, but I am offering up this, one piece of advice is be curious, be kind. Everybody's going through something. And because somebody acts in a different way, just don't assume that they're an outcast and make them an outcast. Show some love, because that has a permanent stamp on my memory. And it sucks because my kiddo just desperately wants friends too.
Man, I really love hearing you say that, because honestly, I think I think a lot of us do fall into that trap of judgment, of like societal norms, cultural norms, what's quote unquote normal, neurotypical. We want everybody to not make us uneasy or to make us feel weird. We want everybody to have the substandard level of social norms. And honestly, this journey through neurodiversity um, has been one of the most enriching, perspective, eye-opening experiences of my life, because I did used to be that kid, that teenager, that punk kid in his 20s that was like, oh, well, why is this guy being weird? Never even thought crossed my mind of maybe he's neurodiverse. Maybe there's just a different way of looking at the world. It's not broken, it's not weird, it's not wrong. It's just a different way of looking at the world. And through my journey of getting evaluated over the last year and watching Naomi go through her own journey, to be able to connect with her about some of the things that we both experience together and to see how her area of the spectrum is different from mine and how she sees the world over here on this side of the spectrum versus how I'm seeing it over here on this side of the spectrum has been beautiful and humbling and really eye-opening to the world in different ways that I didn't know that I could think of or look at in ways. But I can now because I can have these conversations with my daughter that sees it in a different way that I do. And it's so beautiful that I can see the world in different colors now than I could before, and it just sucks that there's so many fucking neurotypical douchebags like that asshole neighbor across the street from you that have this preconceived operation of judgment about them. And just because something makes them feel nervous or uneasy or a little weird, that they just want to distance themselves from it and not take part in it and not enrich not only their own lives with a different perspective or a way of looking at life, but that other person's. Because, like you said, they were open and they were curious enough to give that kid confidence and autonomy over who they are and not try to mold them into somebody else. So I think that parents like us are not better, but way much more better off because we can look at the world with this open heart and this love. So, though there may be some times where we feel we need to apologize for our kiddos or that we need to explain it, I just hope that the person sitting across from me in that moment has enough empathy and an openness to want to love rather than just distance themselves from something that may come across as a little bit different. And again, I've been there, man. I'm not saying that I'm better than everybody. Shit, I would say 5 years ago I was right there in that same fucking mindset. And we've had a lot of neurodivergent friends come over our house and stay weekends with us and go on outings with our family and stuff like that. And the first handful of times I was very apprehensive. I'll be honest. There was a fear in me that this isn't normal. I don't know how to deal with this. It makes me uncomfortable because I just feel so ill-equipped to handle if something went wrong, or what do I do? What's my place? What can I say? And that can make you very unnervous and uncomfortable. But I'll tell you, like, the courage of working through that and being present in the moment for whatever came up. I've had some beautiful moments with some beautiful kids that I wouldn't have had because I was too stuck in my fucking fear or my prejudgment of people. But because I was able to just, let's be curious and show up. I've learned so much. I've learned how to care for my daughter. I've learned how to have empathy, and I've learned how to show up for people. So just a shame that there are people out there like that would rather just not look in a kid's direction than open their arms to them. You're on mute, bud. Well, you're not on mute. I just can't hear you. See, man, the last handful of times we have had so many technical difficulties. I guess this will just be the Coley show and the tail end of this, since JJ can't chime in to give his 2 cents. Oh, there it is. There he is.
I wanted to add something to that what we just kind of talked about with other people. A lot of times these kids with neurodiversity, they give us like real good gateway opportunities, like Naomi saying, Lindsay's the girl's name. Like, that's just, that's innocence talking. That's what her world of understanding is. And now you have a great opportunity to just kind of chuckle about it and have a conversation with the person and with her. I think that's brilliant. And honestly, like, Cohen did that one time with a classmate of his whose father is white and his mother is of Asian descent. And when Cohen first met the father, he said, Kai, you don't look like your dad. And I just thought that was cute and innocent. There was no ill intent there. He wasn't, saying anything racist or anything. It was just an observation. to us adults, we kind of chuckled. I chuckled at it, and I didn't see it as an offensive thing. I thought it was a great opportunity to let the kid kind of just get his observation out, and maybe make a connection with the dad, which Cohen broke the ice there. It was cute. It was cool. There could be a conversation with Cohen later to talk about, yeah, well, people look different across the world, and that's part of the beauty of it. And this person got together with this person. He looks this way, she looks this way. His accent is this, and her accent is this. How cool is that we as human beings come together and make something beautiful happen? But in that moment, I'm like, cool, Cohen, it's just talking observations, and we get to have a little bit of fun with that, rather than thinking like, oh crap, I just wanted to let you know, I'm sorry, my kid doesn't have a filter, he's a mistake, this, all these things that he does, it's not something I would do, and I can't believe this is happening, I'm so sorry. No, instead it's like, oh yeah, cool conversation piece, awesome, he made this icebreaker.
Well, I think you just kind of brought it home for me, buddy. And I'd like to thank you for that, because I'm sitting here going, I don't know how I feel about that when my wife says, I'm sorry, my daughter, I'm sorry, apology, explanation, like we were talking about. And I said, I don't know how I feel about that. But honestly, I think you just brought it home for me. And I think I feel great about it. I think what a great opportunity this is to have a conversation with somebody and inform them and open them up to my world of what neurodivergence looks like, and how we can analyze the world differently through this lens. So, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with apologizing. I'm not apologizing for my daughter or for the behavior of my daughter. I'm just apologizing if there's ill feelings that were felt in the reaction to that, and let me follow up that apology with an explanation of why I'm not sorry, but I'm just sorry that you felt that way. I'm not sorry about my daughter, because this is great. This is a great superpower, and this is why you should be curious about it and not want to not be around my daughter because of it. So I think you just gave me some hope there and some confidence with the next time that question get asked. And I'm going to bring out my PowerPoint now, and I'm going to say, well, I'm so glad you asked. I've been working on this color chart here to tell you everything ASD related. So... But man, we're gonna have to start splitting these topics into like 2 topics, because we go in and we say, this is what we're talking about, summer scheduling and summer intention, and then halfway through it, our little ADHD neurodivergent brains go on our tangents, and we end up on some different topic, and we never get to half the questions that we say we're gonna ask each other. So we went into this with summer strategies, and we kind of went on support for ASD and our neurodivergent journeys. So, man, I love it though. So thanks for hanging out, JJ, and thanks for all the great conversation. There was some really good stuff in there, man. So I hope the listeners enjoyed as well.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. And technical difficulties aside, yeah, it's been a fantastic.
It's JJ's fault this time, not mine, guys.
It is.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, we'll let you go, but thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting us. And please like, comment, share, and subscribe, all that jazz. We love hearing from you, so please engage with us. Please let us know how your journey is going, and if you have any questions for us or anything about the stuff that we talk about, the guests that we have on, or the resources that we give you guys. So thanks, guys. Until next time, this is the ADHDads. I'm CJ.
I'm JJ in a tin can.
And we'll talk to you next time.